Could the ancient Germanic tribes have shaped modern society? Ready for another exciting story? We're thrilled to have you here at Histox. Let's embark on another journey. The Varangians were Norse seafarers, primarily from present-day Sweden, who played a significant role in the early medieval history of Eastern Europe. During the 8th and 9th centuries, they began navigating the river systems of what are now Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine. In 862, a Varangian leader named Rewrote was invited to rule in Novgorod, laying the groundwork for the Rurikid dynasty. His successor, Oleg of Novgorod, later seized control of Kiev in 882, founding what would become the Kievan Rus state. The Varangians dominated vital trade routes that connected the Baltic Sea with the Black and Caspian Seas, serving as commercial links between Northern Europe, the Byzantine Empire, and the Islamic world. These routes brought great wealth and influence to the Rus' elites. Attracted by the prosperity of Constantinople, some Varangians initially clashed with the Byzantines, but over time, many entered Byzantine service as mercenaries. By the 10th century, the Varangian Guard became an elite unit of the Byzantine military, composed largely of Norse warriors. Over the centuries, the Varangians gradually assimilated with the East Slavic population. Following the Christianization of Kievan Rus in 988, they converted from Norse paganism to Eastern Orthodox Christianity. As the Viking Age ended, their distinct Scandinavian identity faded, and they were absorbed into the developing Rus' culture. The Vandals were a Germanic people who first appeared in Roman records during the early centuries of the Roman Empire. Originally settled in what is now southern Poland, they were associated with the Przeworsk culture and related to other East Germanic tribes like the Lugi. During the Marcomannic Wars of the 2nd century AD, they migrated southward and were later confined to Pannonia by the advancing Goths. In the early 5th century, pressured by Hunnic invasions and seeking new lands, the Vandals crossed the Rhine into Gaul in 406 AD, alongside other migrating tribes. By 409, they had moved into the Iberian Peninsula. After suffering heavy losses from conflicts with the Visigoths, the remaining Vandals united under King Gunderic. His successor, Genseric, led the Vandals across the Mediterranean Sea to North Africa in 429 AD. There, they established a powerful kingdom based in Carthage by 439 AD, which came to control key islands including Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, Malta, and the Balearics. The Vandals became a dominant naval power and launched raids across the Mediterranean, including the infamous sack of Rome in 455 AD. Despite their power, they struggled with internal divisions and religious tensions as they adhered to Arian Christianity, unlike the Catholic majority of the Roman world. Their kingdom lasted nearly a century until it was conquered by the Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire under Emperor Justinian in 533 AD during the Vandalic War. Because of their sack of Rome, later writers during the Renaissance unfairly portrayed the Vandals as wantonly destructive, giving rise to the modern term vandalism. The Goths were an East Germanic people who emerged in Roman records in the 3rd century AD. Originally migrating from Scandinavia, they settled in areas north of the Black Sea in what is now Ukraine, Moldova, and Romania. Over time, they split into two main branches, the Visigoths, Western Goths, and the Ostrogoths, Eastern Goths. During the 4th century, the advancing Huns forced many Gothic groups to seek refuge within the Roman Empire. Tensions between the Goths and Roman authorities escalated, culminating in a major Gothic victory at the Battle of Adrianople in 378 AD, where they defeated and killed Emperor Valens. This marked a turning point in Roman military history and revealed the vulnerability of the empire's borders. The Visigoths, under Alaric I, famously sacked Rome in 410 AD and later established a kingdom in southwestern Gaul and then in the Iberian Peninsula. Meanwhile, the Ostrogoths, who had fallen under Hunnic control for several decades, regained independence after the Huns' decline. Under Theodoric the Great, they founded a kingdom in Italy in the late 5th century, preserving many aspects of Roman governance and culture. The Gothic peoples had largely converted to Arian Christianity by the 4th century, which often put them at odds with the Nicene Catholic Christianity dominant in the Roman Empire. Despite early resistance, they played a central role in the transformation of the Roman world into medieval Europe. Eventually, both Gothic kingdoms fell. Visigothic Spain to the Umayyad Caliphate in the early 8th century, and the Ostrogothic Kingdom of Italy to the Eastern Roman Empire in the 6th century. A small Gothic population survived in Crimea for centuries, but over time, the Goths were assimilated into surrounding cultures. Though they disappeared as a distinct people, their name lived on in later cultural movements, such as Gothic architecture and Gothic literature, which have no direct link to the ancient Goths. The Normans were descendants of Norse Vikings who settled in the region of northern France that became known as Normandy in the early 10th century. Originally raiders along the northern coast of West Francia, modern France, they gained legitimacy when their leader Rollo was granted land by King Charles the Simple in 911 AD as part of a treaty aimed at ending Viking attacks. In return, Rollo swore fealty to the king and converted to Christianity. Over the following generations, the Norse settlers in Normandy assimilated into the local Frankish population, adopting the French language, Christianity, and many aspects of feudal governance. However, they retained their military traditions and organizational skills, creating a strong and disciplined warrior society. In 1066, the Normans achieved international prominence when William, Duke of Normandy, later known as William the Conqueror, defeated King Harold II of England at the Battle of Hastings, establishing Norman rule over England. This conquest brought major cultural and administrative changes, including the introduction of feudal landholding systems, castle building, and a new elite class that blended Norman and Anglo-Saxon traditions. The Normans were also active in southern Europe. In the 11th century, Norman adventurers conquered parts of southern Italy and Sicily, previously held by the Byzantines and Muslim powers. Under leaders like Robert Guiscard and Roger II, they established the Kingdom of Sicily, which became a prosperous multicultural state that integrated Latin, Greek, and Arab influences. Norman warriors and nobles also took part in the Crusades, playing major roles in the establishment and governance of Crusader states in the Levant. Their legacy includes architectural innovations, such as Romanesque church styles and fortified castles, as well as administrative reforms that shaped the future monarchies of Western Europe. Though the distinct Norman identity faded over the centuries through assimilation, their influence on the development of medieval England, southern Italy, and the Crusader states was profound and lasting. The Franks were a confederation of Germanic tribes that emerged in the late Roman period originally, inhabiting the lands beyond the Rhine River in what is now Western Germany and the Low Countries. First mentioned by Roman sources in the 3rd century AD, they gradually became both a threat and an asset to the Roman Empire. Some Frankish groups raided Roman territories, while others served as allies and mercenaries in the Roman military. By the late 4th and early 5th centuries, as the Western Roman Empire weakened under pressure from internal decay and external invasions, the Franks began to expand into Roman Gaul, modern France. Rather than launching a single conquest, they gradually gained control by settling, forming alliances, and taking advantage of the empire's collapse. During this time, they often defended Roman borders against other groups like the Vandals and Huns. A major turning point came with Clovis I, who united the various Frankish tribes under the Merovingian dynasty in the late 5th century. Clovis famously converted to Catholic Christianity, which distinguished the Franks from other Germanic peoples who had embraced Arian Christianity. This aligned them closely with the Roman Catholic Church, helping legitimize Frankish rule over a largely Romanized and Christian population. The Franks expanded their territory across much of Western Europe, eventually forming one of the most powerful post-Roman kingdoms. In the 8th century, the Carolingian dynasty replaced the Merovingians, culminating in the reign of Charlemagne, who was crowned Emperor of the Romans by the Pope in 800 AD. Under Charlemagne, The Frankish Empire reached its peak, encompassing modern France, Germany, northern Italy, and more. After Charlemagne's death, his empire was divided among his heirs, laying the foundation for the later kingdoms of France and Germany, and eventually the Holy Roman Empire. The Franks were instrumental in shaping the political, religious, and cultural landscape of medieval Western Europe. If they were alive today, how would they shape the world? Your likes power us up, and your support keeps us moving forward.